Captain Han Wu pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation deck. Earth hung before him like a blue jewel against the black space. He had seen many worlds during his 20 years serving the Zephyrian Empire, but none quite like this one. The planet looked so peaceful, so small. It was hard to believe that this tiny world had refused to bow down to the greatest military force in the galaxy. Behind him, the bridge buzzed with quiet activity. Officers moved between control panels, their boots clicking against the metal floor. The massive flagship Dominator stretched for miles in every direction, its hull bristling with enough weapons to crack a moon in half. And this was just one ship. Around Earth's moon, 300 more vessels waited in perfect formation. Each one carried enough firepower to level entire cities. Admiral So-min stood at the center of it all, her hands clasped behind her back. She was a tall woman with sharp features and eyes that had watched 1,000 worlds fall. Her uniform was spotless, decorated with medals from countless victories. When she spoke, even the ship's computers seemed to listen. 72 hours, she had announced to the communication officer that morning. Send the message to every frequency on that planet. They have 3 days to surrender completely, or we turn their world into space dust. That was 6 hours ago. Since then, nothing. Han Wu walked back to his station and checked the communication array for the 100th time. The equipment was working perfectly. Every channel was open, every frequency clear. They should be hearing something from Earth's surface, radio chatter from their cities, emergency broadcasts from their governments, even background noise from their daily communications. Instead, there was only silence so complete it made his skin crawl. "Communications Officer Yujin," Admiral So-min called out without turning around. "Any response from the surface?" Yujin, a young woman who had joined the fleet only 2 years. Ego shook her head nervously. "Nothing, Admiral. Not even their normal radio signals. It's like the entire planet just stopped talking." This was wrong. Han Wu had been part of many conquests before. Usually, when the Empire arrived at a new world, the locals would react immediately. Some begged for mercy, some tried to negotiate, some screamed threats and promises of revenge. But they all did something. Fear, anger, desperation. These emotions always made people talk. Earth's silence was different. It felt deliberate, calculated, like they were choosing not to respond rather than being too scared to answer. Han Wu pulled up the planet's information on his screen. The humans were a young species, barely out of their home solar system. They had only developed space travel a few hundred years ago. Their technology was primitive compared to the Empire's advanced weapons. Their military was scattered across a few dozen colonies, nothing that could challenge even a single Zephyrian battleship. So why did he feel uneasy? "Scan the surface again," Admiral So-min ordered the sensor team. "I want to know what they're doing down there." The sensors swept across Earth's continents. Cities showed normal activity, people moving around, vehicles on roads, lights in buildings. Everything looked ordinary, too ordinary. Like the humans were going about their daily lives, as if 300 warships weren't pointing guns at their planet. "Energy readings are normal," reported the sensor officer. "No unusual military buildup, no signs of evacuation. Their defense. Satellites are still in standard orbit, not even powered up for combat." Han Wu frowned. This made no sense. Either the humans were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. He had seen civilizations try to ignore the Empire before, pretending that surrender demands weren't real. It never ended well for them, but something about Earth felt different. The silence wasn't empty, it was full. Like the calm before a storm that hadn't started yet. Like the moment when a predator stops moving, not because it's scared, but because it's deciding what to do next. Admiral So-min seemed to sense it too. She walked slowly around the bridge, stopping at different stations to check readings. Her usual confidence had a small crack in it, barely visible but definitely there. "Double-check all our weapon systems," she commanded. "I want every gun loaded and ready to fire the moment those 72 hours are up." The weapons officer, a man named Tai Ho, who had served longer than anyone else on the ship, nodded quickly. But Han Wu noticed his hands shaking slightly as he worked the controls. Even the veterans were feeling it. This strange wrongness that seemed to hang in the space around Earth like invisible fog. Outside the viewport, Earth continued its slow rotation. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. Beautiful, and silent and somehow threatening in a way that made no logical sense at all. The silence from Earth wasn't just quiet, it was wrong. Han Wu had experienced many different kinds of silence during his military career. There was the tense silence before battle, when everyone held their breath waiting for the first shot. There was the exhausted silence after victory, when soldiers were too tired to celebrate. There was even the hollow silence of defeat, when hope died and words became meaningless. But this silence was none of those things. It was complete, absolute, like someone had reached into space and turned off all sound from an entire planet. No radio chatter from air traffic control, no emergency broadcasts from governments, no civilian communications bouncing between cities. Even the background electromagnetic noise that every technological civilization produced, all of it was gone. Yu Jin kept adjusting her equipment, checking and rechecking the communication arrays. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panels, but Han Wu could see the growing worry in her eyes. She was young, maybe 25, and this was probably her first major deployment with the fleet. The older officers had taught her that alien worlds always made noise when the Empire arrived. Always. "Try the emergency frequencies again, Admiral," So Min ordered, her voice cutting through the bridge's nervous atmosphere. "Already tried, Admiral, 15 times in the last hour." Yujin's voice was getting higher, stress making her words come faster. Military channels, civilian bands, even their primitive internet signals, it's all dead quiet. Engineer Tae-ho was bent over his sensor station, sweat beading on his forehead, despite the cool air circulation. He was the oldest person on the bridge, maybe 50 years old, with grey streaks in his black hair. Hanwoo had served with him on 3 previous campaigns. Tae-ho never panicked, never showed fear. But right now his hands were shaking as he worked the controls. "Biological scans still show normal population levels," Tae-ho reported. "Humans are definitely still down there, moving around their cities. But it's like they've all agreed to stop using any form of long-distance communication at exactly the same time." Admiral Somin walked to the main viewport and stared down at Earth. The planet rotated slowly beneath them, its surface passing from day to night and back to day. Cities glowed with lights during the dark hours. Roads showed the movement of vehicles. Everything looked normal from a distance. "How long since we've detected any signals from the surface?" she asked. "Exactly 6 hours and 43 minutes, Yujin answered immediately. "The silence started the moment our ultimatum was broadcast to their planet." This information hung in the air like a physical weight. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. The humans had received the Empire's demand for surrender, and their response was to go completely silent. Not just their government or military, everyone. An entire planet of billions of people had somehow coordinated to stop all electronic communication at the same instant. Han Wu felt a chill run down his spine. How was that even possible? Earth's humans didn't have the technology for planet-wide thought control or instantaneous coordination. Their communication systems were still based on primitive radio waves and fiber optic cables. Yet somehow they had achieved something that even the Empire's most advanced worlds couldn't do. The bridge crew continued their work, but the normal chatter between stations had died away. Everyone was focused on their screens, trying to make sense of readings that should have been impossible. The hum of life support systems seemed louder than usual, filling the spaces where conversation should have been. Admiral Somin returned to her command chair and activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, report status. Any unusual readings or contact from the target planet?" One by one, the captains of the other ships responded. Battleship Conquest, negative contact. Cruiser Iron Fist, all quiet. Destroyer Squadron 7, nothing to report. 300 ships, each packed with the most sensitive detection equipment in the galaxy, and not one of them was picking up any communication from Earth. "Admiral," Tae-ho called out, his voice carefully controlled. "I'm detecting some strange readings from our long-range sensors. It might be nothing, but report it anyway." There's an anomaly in the quantum field measurements around Proxima Station. The readings are inconsistent. Proxima Station was one of the Empire's forward observation posts, located about 4 light-years from Earth. It monitored human activity and served as an early warning system for any technological developments that might threaten the Empire. The station was small but well-equipped, staffed by a crew of 50 scientists and soldiers. What kind of inconsistency? Admiral Somin's voice had an edge to it now. The quantum signatures are fluctuating in ways that don't match our physics. Models, it's almost like space itself is... Tejo paused, checking his readings again, like it's uncertain about something. Before anyone could respond to this cryptic statement, the main door to the bridge slid open with a sharp hiss. Engineer. Tejo burst through the bridge doors like a man running from death itself. His uniform was wrinkled, his hair disheveled, and his face had gone completely white. In all his years of service, Han Wu had never seen the veteran engineer look so shaken. Admiral. Tejo's voice cracked as he spoke. We've lost contact. With Proxima Station. Admiral Somin didn't even look up from her tactical display. The holographic map showed the positions of Empire fleets across dozens of star systems, each one represented by glowing dots of light. Her fingers moved across the controls, zooming in on different sectors, checking supply lines and defensive positions. Communication failure, she said dismissively. Have the repair crews send a diagnostic team. These old stations always have. Problems with their transmission arrays. But Tejo was shaking his head so violently that Han Wu thought he might hurt himself. No, Admiral, you don't understand. The station isn't having communication problems. The station is gone. This got Somin's attention. She looked up from her display, her sharp eyes focusing on the panicked engineer. What do you mean, gone? I mean gone. Tejo's voice rose to almost a shout. Our long-range sensors show nothing but empty space where Proxima Station should be. No wreckage, no debris field, no energy signatures from an explosion. Just nothing. Like it was never there at all. The bridge fell completely silent, except for the steady hum of the ship's life support systems. Even the quiet beeping of various monitors seemed to pause. Han Wu felt his heart skip a beat. Proxima Station was a massive structure, built to last for centuries. It housed 50 people and enough equipment to monitor an entire solar system. Things like that didn't just disappear. Admiral Somin stood up slowly, her command chair sliding back with a soft whir. Show me. Tejo rushed to the main sensor station and began pulling up readings on the large display screen. The image showed the star system where Proxima Station had been located. Han Wu could see the red dwarf star, several small planets, and various asteroids floating in their normal orbits. But where the station's massive structure should have been clearly visible, there was absolutely nothing. Run a full spectrum analysis, Somin ordered. Check for cloaking devices, stealth technology, anything that might hide a structure that size. The sensor operator, a young man named Dongmin, worked frantically at his controls. Negative on. All stealth signatures, Admiral. No gravitational anomalies that would indicate a cloaked object. No residual heat signatures, no electromagnetic disturbances. According to our sensors, there has never been anything in that location. But that was impossible. Han Wu had been to Proxima Station himself just 2 months ago. He remembered the long corridors, the observation decks with their massive windows looking out at the stars, the cafeteria where the crew gathered for meals. 50 people lived and worked there. They had families, friends, lives full of memories and experiences. They couldn't just stop existing. Try contacting other stations in the sector, Admiral Somin commanded. Maybe they have information about... What happened? Eugene, the communications officer, began sending signals to nearby Empire installations. Her face was pale, but her hands moved steadily across the controls. She was trying hard to stay professional, despite the growing fear that everyone on the bridge could feel. Kepler Colony is responding, she reported. They confirmed that Proxima Station was operational as of yesterday. They were scheduled to receive a supply shipment next week. There was a moment of relief. At least they were getting confirmation that the station had existed. But then Eugene's expression changed. Her eyes went wide, and her mouth opened in shock. Admiral, she whispered, I just lost contact with Kepler colony. So Min spun around. What? The signal just cut off. Mid-sentence. They were in the middle of confirming their last communication with Proxima Station when the transmission ended. Taeho was already running new sensor sweeps. His fingers flew across the controls, pulling up readings from the Kepler system. The results appeared on the main screen, and Hanwoo felt his stomach drop. Empty space. Where Kepler colony should have been, a thriving settlement of 10,000 people, there was nothing but stars and cosmic dust. This can't be happening, Dongmin muttered, rechecking his instruments. Colonies don't just vanish, it's physically impossible. But even as he spoke, Yu Jin was receiving more reports. Communication officers throughout the fleet were trying to contact various Empire installations, and one by one they were finding nothing but silence. New Byzantium isn't responding, Yu Jin reported, her voice getting higher with each word. Neither is the Outer Rim defensive line. Admiral, I'm getting reports from multiple ships that entire star systems are showing up empty on their sensors. Admiral So Min stared at the tactical display as red dots began blinking out. Each dot represented thousands or millions of Imperial citizens, military bases that had protected the Empire's borders for decades, trading posts that supplied the fleet, research stations that pushed the boundaries of science and technology. Hanwoo watched in horror as the patterns spread across the map like a disease. The disappearances weren't random. They were following the Empire's communication networks, moving from station to station along the routes that connected Imperial territory. Science officer Jin A had been working non-stop for 18 hours straight. Her eyes were bloodshot, her hands shaking from too much caffeine and too little sleep. She sat hunched over her quantum analysis station, surrounded by data screens that cast an eerie blue glow across her face. Numbers, equations, and wave patterns scrolled endlessly across the monitors. The rest of the bridge crew had given up trying to make sense of what was happening. Admiral So Min paced back and forth like a caged animal, her perfect uniform now wrinkled and stained with stress sweat. Communications officer Yu Jin had stopped trying to contact the missing colonies hours ago. There was no point. Engineer. Taeho sat slumped in his chair, staring blankly at sensor readings that showed empty space where thriving worlds should have been. But Jin-A kept working. She was the youngest officer on the bridge, barely 30 years old. But she had a mind that could see patterns where others saw only chaos. Her specialty was quantum mechanics, the strange science that dealt with the building blocks of reality itself. If anyone could figure out what was happening to the Empire's worlds, it would be her. The energy signatures don't match any known weapon, she muttered to herself, fingers flying across her keyboard. No plasma discharge, no nuclear detonation, no antimatter explosion. Whatever is making our colonies disappear, it's not destroying them in any conventional sense. Hanwoo walked over to her station. He didn't understand quantum physics, but he could see that Jin-A was onto something important. Her screens showed complex wave patterns that looked like the heartbeat of the universe itself. "What are you looking for?" he asked. Jin-A looked up at him with exhausted eyes. Every object in the universe leaves a quantum footprint. Stars, planets, people, even thoughts. Everything creates ripples in the fabric of space-time. When something is destroyed, those ripples change in predictable ways. But what I'm seeing here, she pointed at her screen, it's like the ripples are being erased backwards through time. This made no sense to Hanwoo, but he could see the fear growing in Jin-A's expression. What does that mean? It means that whatever is happening to our colonies, it's not happening in normal space-time. Someone is reaching into the past and changing reality so that these places never existed at all. The implications of this hit Hanwoo like a physical blow. If Jin-A was right, then the missing colonies hadn't been destroyed. They had been edited out of history itself. The people, the buildings, the memories, everything that made those places real had been carefully removed from the universe as if they had never been there. Admiral So Min had overheard their conversation. She strode over to Jin-A's station, her face a mask of controlled panic. That's impossible. No one has that kind of technology. Not even the elder races at their peak could manipulate reality on that scale. Jin-A pulled up another display, this one showing the quantum field fluctuations around Earth. Look at this, Admiral. The readings around the human homeworld are off the charts. The space-time distortions are originating from Earth's surface, spreading outward through dimensions. We can't even detect properly. The screen showed Earth as a small blue dot, surrounded by waves of energy that pulsed outward like ripples in a pond. But these weren't normal energy waves. They were tears in reality itself, reaching across the galaxy to touch every world that had threatened humanity. How long have these distortions been active? So Min asked. Since the moment we delivered our ultimatum, Jin'ei replied. The quantum signature started exactly when we demanded Earth's surrender. But here's the terrifying part. The distortions aren't random. They're following our communication networks, tracing every connection between our colonies and military bases. Hanwu felt his blood turn to ice water. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were systematically dismantling the entire Zephyrian Empire. And they were doing it without firing a single shot, without launching a single missile, without even leaving their home planet. But how? Admiral Somin demanded. Humans are barely spacefaring. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They shouldn't even know that quantum manipulation is possible, let alone have the ability to do it on this scale. Jin'ei's fingers trembled as she pulled up more data. Admiral, I think we've been wrong about humanity from the beginning. Look, at these readings from their solar system. The quantum distortions aren't coming from their technology, they're coming from the humans themselves. The screen showed detailed scans of Earth's population. Every human being was generating a unique quantum signature, but when combined, these signatures created a pattern that was beyond anything the Empire had ever encountered. It was as if the entire human species was connected at a level that defied scientific understanding. You're saying that 4 billion humans are somehow working together to manipulate reality? Somin asked. Not working together, Jin'ei corrected. They are together. At the quantum level, humanity isn't separate individuals. They're components of a single incredibly complex consciousness. When we threatened Earth, we didn't threaten a planet full of separate people. We threatened a single entity with the power to rewrite the laws of physics. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Outside the viewport, Earth continued its slow rotation, looking as peaceful and innocent as ever. But now, Hanwu could see it differently. The blue and green planet wasn't just a world. It was the physical body of something vast and alien, and utterly beyond their comprehension. They're not destroying our worlds, Jin'ei whispered, her voice filled with awe and terror. They're editing them out of reality itself, dimensional manipulation on a scale we never imagined possible. The tactical display told a story of an empire dying in real time. Red dots that had marked Zephyrian colonies for centuries continued blinking out of existence, one after another, like stars going dark at the end of the universe. Admiral So-Min stood transfixed before the holographic map, watching her civilization disappear. Half of the empire was already gone. The Outer Rim territories vanished. The industrial worlds that fed the war machine erased. The research stations that had pushed the boundaries of science wiped from reality as if they had never existed. Billions of people, countless memories, entire histories spanning thousands of years, all edited out of existence by an enemy that had never even spoken to them. Hanwu checked the count on his personal display. 47% of all imperial territory had vanished in the past 24 hours. At this rate, the entire Zephyrian Empire would cease to exist within 2 days. And still, Earth remained silent. Communications officer Yu Jin had given up trying to contact the missing worlds. Her station was quiet now, the endless stream of failed connection attempts replaced by an eerie calm. She sat in her chair, staring at blank screens that should have been filled with military chatter. And colony reports. Admiral, she said quietly, I'm receiving surrender offers from our remaining colonies. They want to negotiate with Earth directly. So-Min didn't respond. She was too busy watching the pattern of disappearances on the tactical display. Jin'ei had been right. The vanishing wasn't random. It followed a clear logic, moving through the Empire's territory like a careful surgeon removing cancer. The humans weren't just demonstrating their power, they were teaching a lesson. Engineer Tae Ho looked up from his sensor station. "The quantum distortions are slowing down," he reported. "It's like they're giving us time to think." This was the moment that broke Admiral So-min's mind. For 30 years, she had conquered worlds through fear and overwhelming force. She had built her reputation on being faster, stronger, and more ruthless than her enemies. But the humans weren't fighting her. They were showing her something she had never seen before: restraint. They could have erased the entire empire in minutes. The power Jin-A had detected around Earth was beyond anything the galaxy had ever known, yet they were stopping, pausing, giving the Zephyrians time to understand what was happening. The silence from Earth wasn't the quiet of fear. It was the patience of a teacher, waiting for a slow student to comprehend a difficult lesson. "They're not trying to destroy us," So-min whispered, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. "They're trying to educate us." Han-Wu felt something cold and terrible settle in his stomach. "Admiral?" The silence, the disappearances, the timing. So-min's voice was barely audible. "It's all been a demonstration. They're showing us what they could do if they wanted to, but they're giving us a chance to choose differently." She walked to the main viewport and stared down at Earth. The blue planet turned slowly beneath them, completely unchanged despite the cosmic power it had just displayed. Cities still glowed with lights. Weather patterns still swirled across the continents. It looked exactly like any other inhabited world, except that it had just casually erased half of the galaxy's most powerful empire without breaking a sweat. "They knew we were coming," So-min continued, her voice growing stronger as understanding dawned. "They knew exactly what we would do, how we would react, what we would threaten. And they prepared this response not to defeat us, but to teach us that defeat was pointless." The bridge crew watched their admiral with growing confusion and fear. She was talking like the humans were some kind of gods, but they were just primitives with barely functional space technology. How could a species that had only left their home system a few centuries ago have this kind of power? "Admiral," Tae Ho said carefully, "what are your orders?" So-min closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them again, there was something different in her expression. The hard edges of her military bearing had softened, replaced by something that looked almost like humility. "Signal all ships," she commanded. "Full retreat. Immediate. Withdrawal from this system." "Admiral." Eugen's voice was filled with disbelief. "We're surrendering." "We're learning," So-min corrected. "There's a difference." She walked to her command chair and activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral So-min. Begin immediate withdrawal from the Sol system. Set course for the nearest Imperial stronghold. Full speed." As the orders went out, something miraculous happened. The red dots on the tactical display began reappearing. One by one, the missing colonies flickered back into existence. Proxima Station materialized in its original location. Kepler Colony resumed its normal operations. The entire Outer Rim defensive line returned as if it had never left. Jin-A stared at her quantum readings in amazement. "The distortions are reversing themselves. Everything that was erased is being restored to exactly the state it was in before the disappearances began." But not everything was the same. Along with the returning colonies came new data, detailed information about Earth's capabilities, humanity's true nature, and most importantly, a simple message transmitted on every frequency simultaneously. "We could have ended this permanently," the message said in perfect Zephyrian. "Instead, we chose to show you what ending means. Learn from this, grow from this, and never forget that mercy, once given, may not be offered again."